All right, today we're going to dive into what is really a modern epic. It's a cautionary tale of how a titan of technology, a true giant, fell from grace. And it wasn't from a single blow, but from a profound, deep misunderstanding of the future. This is a story of Intel, NVIDIA, and the AI war that Intel never even knew it was fighting. To really get the story, you have to transport yourself back to the early 2000s. You have to remember what Intel was. They weren't just another company. They were the law of computing. And this quote, it just captures their power perfectly. Intel Inside wasn't some friendly jingle. It was a straight-up declaration of their absolute dominance. So, to understand the fall, we first have to appreciate the staggering, breathtaking height of their empire. We're talking about a time when the CPU was king, and Intel, well, Intel wore the crown. And they really did set the law. I mean, for decades, Intel's decisions dictated everything. How fast your computer was, how hot it ran, even the fundamental way that software got written. The entire industry, and I mean everyone, marched to the beat of Intel's drum. Okay, this slide shows two totally different philosophies of computing. Over on the left, you see Intel's world, sequential computing. Think of it like a master blacksmith, forging one single perfect sword, one hammer blow at a time. And on the right, that's the future, parallel computing. That's like an entire army of specialists, all working on thousands of tiny little tasks all at once. Intel saw this as a niche, a sideshow. Turns out, it was the whole damn future. And this is exactly where all of their time, money, and energy went. Intel poured billions and billions into these three pillars: making clock speeds faster, building more efficient instruction pipelines, and, this is the big one, owning and operating the most advanced manufacturing plants, or fabs, on the entire planet. To them, hardware superiority was the only game that mattered, period. So, while Intel was busy polishing the crown of its kingdom, a small company making chips for video games was quietly starting a revolution. NVIDIA saw a future that Intel, from its lofty throne, just couldn't comprehend. It was a future that wasn't just about faster chips. It was about building a movement. The real turning point came in 2006 with this one word: CUDA. Now, on the surface, it just looked like a software platform, but underneath, it was revolutionary. CUDA basically cracked open the GPU, which, by the way, Intel engineers kind of dismissed as fixed-function junk, and it turned it into a fully programmable, massively parallel computer that anyone, for the first time, could use for pretty much anything. This was the shot that would eventually echo all around the world. And this is what is so important to understand. NVIDIA's playbook was never just about selling better hardware. No way. It was this brilliant long-term strategy to win hearts and minds. They gave away tools for free, they funded university research, they got CUDA into the hands of students and scientists. You see, they weren't just building a product, they were building an army of developers who eventually couldn't live without them. And this brings us right to the heart of the story. It's this fundamental difference in philosophy that would decide the entire war. This wasn't about silicon. This was about belief. It was about strategy. So we hear it all the time, right? That Intel just missed AI. But was that really it? What was their real fundamental mistake? And here it is. The failure wasn't a blind spot for one single technology like AI. It was a complete and total dismissal of the strategic importance of a software ecosystem. Intel truly believed the world would always conform to its hardware. They could not have been more wrong. This slide just lays it out perfectly. I mean, look at these two mindsets. It's night and day. Intel believed hardware was king and software was its loyal servant. NVIDIA believed the exact opposite. Empower the developers, build a community around your software, and they will literally pull your hardware into the future with them. Intel sold a product, NVIDIA built a religion. Okay, now we get to the consequences. For years, Intel's arrogance was backed by flawless execution. But then, the cracks in the fortress started to show, and the king was finally and spectacularly dethroned. So Intel's greatest strength, its manufacturing prowess, became its Achilles heel. Delays, broken promises, internal chaos, it plagued their factories. And what was NVIDIA doing this whole time? Well, they didn't own any factories. They were just outsourcing all their chip production to TSMC, who had quietly become the best in the world. So while Intel was stuck fixing its own plants, NVIDIA was out there shipping a revolution. And this quote, wow. It shows you the devastating result. By the time the AI explosion really truly hit, the entire conversation had changed. The question wasn't about Intel's world of CPUs anymore.
The entire research community, the people building the future, had already migrated to NVIDIA's parallel universe. Intel wasn't even part of the conversation.
Now, of course, Intel did eventually wake up. They scrambled, they started buying companies, launching new products, desperately trying to get back in the game, but it was far, far too little, too late. The real war, the war for the developer ecosystem, had been fought and lost a decade earlier. AI had already chosen its platform.
So why does this story matter so much beyond just Silicon Valley? Because this isn't really about microchips, is it? It's a timeless lesson about the dangers of success, the blindness of arrogance, and the true nature of innovation. When you boil it all down, the king fell for three simple but devastating reasons. They underestimated a whole new way of computing. They completely dismissed the power of the people writing the code. And most fatally of all, they believed their own legend. They thought their dominance was permanent.
If you take only one thing away from this explainer, let it be this sentence right here. In the end, Intel was so focused on perfecting the world that already existed that it failed to see a brand new one being built right next door. They optimized for the past, while NVIDIA was busy engineering the future.
And we'll end with this final thought. It's a warning, really, for any company, any creator, any person who's at the top of their game. The greatest danger you'll ever face isn't the competitor you see coming. It's that quiet moment you start to believe you just can't be replaced.